democracy, transparency, and the rule of law in developing nations, and I ask you to fully fund this important initiative. America is leading the fight against global hunger. Today, more than half the world's food aid comes from the United States. And tonight, I ask Congress to support an innovative proposal to provide food assistance by purchasing crops directly from farmers in the developing world so we can build up local agriculture and help break the cycle of famine. America is leading the fight against disease. With your help, we're working to cut by half the number of malaria-related deaths in 15 African nations. And our emergency plan for AIDS relief is treating 1.4 million people. We can bring healing and hope to many more. So I ask you to maintain the principles that have changed behavior and made this program a success. And I call on you to double our initial commitment to fighting HIV/AIDS by approving an additional $30 billion over the next 5 years. America is a force for hope in the world because we are a compassionate people. And some of the most compassionate Americans are those who have stepped forward to protect us. We must keep faith with all who have risked life and limb so that we might live in freedom and peace. Over the past 7 years, we've increased funding for veterans by more than 95%. And as we increase funding, we must also reform our veteran system to meet the needs of a new war and a new generation. I call on Congress to enact the reforms recommended by Senator Bob Dole and Secretary Donna Shalala so we can improve the system of care for our wounded warriors and help them build lives of hope and promise and dignity. Our military families also sacrifice for America. They endure sleepless nights and the daily struggle of providing for children while a loved one is serving far from home. We have a responsibility to provide for them. So I ask you to join me in expanding their access to child care, creating new hiring preferences for military spouses across the federal government, and allowing our troops to transfer their unused education benefits to their spouses or children. Our military families serve our nation, they inspire our nation, and tonight our nation honors them. The secret of our strength, the miracle of America, is that our greatness lies not in our government, but in the spirit and determination of our people. When the Federal Convention met in Philadelphia in 1787, our nation was bound by the Articles of Confederation, which began with the words, "We the undersigned delegates." When Governor Morris was asked to draft the preamble to our new Constitution, he offered an important revision and opened with words that changed the course of our nation and the history of the world. We the people. By trusting the people, our founders wagered that a great and noble nation could be built on the liberty that resides in the hearts of all men and women. By trusting the people, succeeding generations transformed our fragile young democracy into the most powerful nation on earth and a beacon of hope for millions. And so long as we continue to trust the people, our nation will prosper, our liberty will be secure, and the state of our union will remain strong. So tonight, with confidence in freedom's power and trust in the people, let us set forth to do their business. God bless America.
After assuring reporters earlier today there would be no sense of finality or sentiment or wistfulness about tonight's appearance, President George W. Bush, at least toward the end, fighting his own emotion, and especially when the subject turned to the U.S. military. Just over 50 minutes in length, for the first time with his two adult daughters in the gallery, adding to the sense of finality about this process. And for the last time in his presidency, the seventh and final time to a joint session, delivering the State of the Union, the president now makes it up the aisle. Some early first impressions, beginning with Tim Russert.
Brian, certainly a full-throated defense of his policies in Iraq. This president believes deeply in that war and made it clear that he's going to continue it on his terms. He had some fun tweaking the Democrats on taxes and so-called earmarks. He went through an ideological checklist that I think is mandatory for a Republican president. But in the end, it really was a minimalist agenda of a lame duck president. And the president recognizes that he's off center stage now. The Democratic candidates, the Republican candidates are going to dominate the news flow. And he achieved what he wanted to